In this video, we're going to be finding the unknown angle. Now, before all this, what we were doing is we were using an angle to find an unknown side. This is we're using trigonometry. Now, what happens if I have an unknown angle? So let's say that this is 2 meters, and let's say this is 1 meter there. And I want to know what that particular angle is inside. So what we do is we have a technique called inverse trigonometric function. So we have a few steps that we can use. So the first thing that I would suggest we do is, of course, label the sides. So when we say label the sides, what we mean is in relation to this angle here. So what's usually obvious is that we go across here. So which one is the opposite? So it's obviously the side that will be opposite that angle. So that's this friend over here. This is the opposite. Then the longest side that we have would have to be this friend up here, which is the hypotenuse. Fun fact about the hypotenuse, the longest side is always directly opposite 90 degrees. If that's confusing opposites there, don't worry about that, but just looking for the longest side, that's hypotenuse. That means my other friend is the adjacent here. Okay, so we've labelled the sides, which is great. Well done us. So now what we need to do, step 2, which side do I have information on? Okay, so I've been told here that my opposite's 1 meter, so I've got information about my opposite. And then I've also got information here about the hypotenuse as well. So I know stuff about the opposite and the hypotenuse. And now, which trigonometric function involves those sides? So how do I remember trigonometric functions? Well, remember that's our SOHCAHTOA. So which one of those out of SOHCAHTOA involves opposites and hypotenuses? Well, let's go and have a look here. We certainly got an opposite here. There's an opposite there. And so which of those two also has a hypotenuse? Well, it can't be tan because it needs an adjacent, so it must be sine. So sine is what we need to use. So what we need to do now is to use a calculator. When you have your calculator, there is a function that we need to do, and it's called the inverse sine. Now, your calculator will probably look a little bit different to this. This is an older model. But to get to inverse whatever function it is, in this case we're going to do inverse sine, what you need to do, now you might have a shift button, or it might say second, so you want to be able to press shift or second, whatever is on your calculator. And then whichever the 3 buttons we need to use. So be sine, cos, or tan. You may notice on your calculator that if we bring this up here, and we'll get all ridiculously blurry, you might see at the top of your calculator, it'll say sine to the -1, cos to the -1, tan to the -1. Yes, that's right, Mr. Ernest. Just show a very blurry calculator to the camera. That is correct. Well done. So whichever one it is, that's what the inverse looks like. It's got a little -1 to it. So what we'll do is, obviously we need sine here. So we're going to do sine -1. So onto your calculator, I'm going to press shift, sine, and then my suggestion would be to put a bracket. So put a bracket, and then what you would need to do is to put in opposite over hypotenuse. So this would be 1 divided by, so 1 divided by 2, close bracket, equals, and it's 30 degrees. So what you need to do, shift, sign, open bracket, 1 divided by 2, which is equal to 30 degrees. Why did I do the 1 over 2? Because sine is opposite over hypotenuse. That's what we need to do. So there's where I got my 30 degrees from. Please also make sure when you have your calculator that it has a little deg on the top there, or D, whatever yours might say, so that you know you're dealing with degrees and not radians. So please make sure you've got that. So that is how you find an unknown angle. It's very simple. Label your signs, determine which trig function involves those signs, do the inverse of that function, and then you've got your answer. They're not always going to be nice, neat 30 degrees. It could be others, decimal places as well, but that is fine. My suggestion when it comes to decimal places is that you read the question, and if it says 2 decimal places, put 2 decimal places down.